Hi everyone, welcome back to Google Developers Live. My name is Claudio. I'm one of the engineers on the Google Drive SDK Developer Relations team. And today, I'm going to do a review of an application that very recently, just last week, at the end of last week, was released on our Chrome Web Store on a collection of Drive-enabled application. This application is called Spreadshirt Designer for Google Drive. Many of you might know Spreadshirt already. It's a well-known product that allows anyone to go on their web page and design their own t-shirt, mug, hat, any kind of promotional items or gadgets or clothing where you can print something on it. So you can have your own personal design. And the new thing, what they just launched, is a way for you to upload your files directly from Drive, so that, for instance, you can have your own image that is on Drive or that someone shared with you, and use it to be printed on your t-shirt. We wanted to show you this application because we have a lot of applications that do a lot of creative things with the Drive API, and we think this is one of them. This is something that goes beyond your computer. So you start from your computer and you get a real object, a real item that can use your files. Let's see how this works. The application is new and is available in the Chrome Web Store. I have the listing page in front of me. What we can see here, there is a number of screenshots and a video. The flow is that you install the application, grant access to it, and then you can pick any of the files you have on Google Drive, on your Google Drive account, and send it directly to Spreadshirt. There are some small things we would like to be improved or changed, and I'm going to address all of them one by one. So if you open the Chrome Web Store and you check this collection, the Drive collection, you will find this application. When you click on it, you will see this listing with some screenshots that show how to use the application and what the final result could be, and a video explaining the same things. You can also check the reviews. The application still has a small number of reviews, but they're all positive, so we are confident this application will be liked by many of you. As usual, the selection process is very, very easy. You just open the listing, like I've done, and then you have this big blue button that says Add to Chrome. If I click on it, I have to confirm that I want to add Spreadshirt Designer for Google Drive. I say yes. That's the only step required to install an application. The result, if you're using Chrome, is that a Spreadshirt Designer icon is added to your new tab page. Remember, you can add Drive applications using any browser, not just Chrome. So if you visit the Chrome Web Store, let's say with Firefox or Internet Explorer, you can still install the applications on your Drive account. The only difference will be that, of course, there will be no Spreadshirt Designer icon in your new tab page because each browser has its own concept of new tab page. This is something that's very Chrome specific. But this is not a requirement. We would like to stress this because this is a common question we get. So the takeaway is that you can install Drive applications using any browsers, and you can use those applications with any browsers. So if I click on this now, what happens is that I'm taken to a Spreadshirt page that explains what you can do with Spreadshirt and how to use it integrated with Drive. Their instructions are easy. You start from Drive, you select a file you want to use with Spreadshirt, then you're brought to the Spreadshirt page, do all the editing, choose the t-shirt you want, choose the mug, choose the item you want, and that's it. And then you buy and get it delivered. So from here, instead of launching the application directly, they want you to go back to Drive. This is something that can be improved. This user experience can be improved. We would expect the application to be launched when you click on the icon in the new tab page. And then from inside the application, you should still be able to interact with Drive. But let's see how it works right now. and then we will get back to to our suggestions for improvement. So if I click on this button, I launch Drive, which means I get redirected to Drive. This is my Drive account. If I see in the Manage Apps dialog, I see all the applications I have installed, and Spreadshirt is here. I had this installed before, so I didn't see a new message, a new dialog saying that I just installed Spreadshirt. And this is something else we would like Spreadshirt to change. Let me explain. When you install Spreadshirt for the first time, it will set itself as the default application for all supported file types. Spreadshirt supports all image file types. But I don't think that's what a lot of users want as the default viewer for images. Let me show what happens if this application is set as default. I set it as default. I have an image here. As a user, what I would expect by clicking on this image is that the image is open in the viewer. But now, if I click on it and Spreadshirt is the default application, when I do that, I'm brought into Spreadshirt directly. So let me make this bigger. This is the first time I run the application or Spreadshirt, and the application has to request access to some of my data. For instance, the file I just tried to send. So this is the standard auth dialog. It is important, as always, to read what the application wants from you. So the application is requesting permission to view basic information about my account. That's normal. So it wants my name, wants some other information. They all bundle together. So if they want my name, they have to get all this information together. But this is normal, so I'm fine. They want to see my email address. This is totally fine. They might want this to link my account to their Spreadshirt account. Remember, the Spreadshirt is a website that lives there without Drive. So you, as a Spreadshirt user, can go there directly instead of starting from Drive. And maybe you have an account there already. So with this information, they can realize that you are the same user that already has an account there. And finally, the third piece of information they want from me is the ability to view and manage Google Drive files that I've opened or created with this app. This is very good. They're following our recommendations. What they're asking here is to have access to those files that I'm sending to Spreadshirt, and only those. They don't want access to all my files. They don't need access to all my files. They only need access to that specific image that I send to Spreadshirt every time I do it. And this is exactly what this permission request is asking for. So this is perfect. I'm going to allow access to them. When I do, my file is going to be loaded into Spreadshirt, which it's not working at the moment, which is fun. So, well, let me explain how this works. So maybe we try this again. When we go back to Spreadshirt, what we get is Flash application that you can use to design your item. With this Flash application, you can select the item, you can move your design, your drawing at the center, the back, everywhere. You can rotate the item and see what they look like. You can change items, of course. And when you're done, you can add text. When you're done, you can request it to be shipped, well, printed and shipped to you in a single item or multiple items. Something that we would like them to fix here, let's see if it's still down. It is, unfortunately. Maybe we will show it later again. But so something that happens here when you use Spreadshirt and starting from Drive is that from inside the Spreadshirt application, there's no way to get a file from Drive. So if you start from Drive, pick a file and send it to Spreadshirt, that works correctly. If you start from Spreadshirt and want to get a file, that is not supported. We covered this use case in our documentation, and have it open here so that I can show you. What they should use, what Spreadshirt should use, and what we recommend a lot of other applications to use, is the Google Picker API. This is a JavaScript API that is part of the Google Drive SDK that allows applications to open a standard file dialog, the same file dialog that Google uses and that all other applications use, so it's well known to the users. And this dialog allows them to open files or even upload them. Spreadshirt probably doesn't need to upload files back into Drive, but they might need to open a file from Drive. So all applications that can open files from Drive should probably implement these two flows. Open a file directly from Drive, and also embedding the picker inside the application so that the user doesn't have to leave your application. Remember that if the user has to leave your application, they might not come back. So you don't want them to leave your application. That's why you should embed the picker in your application. And this is one of our suggestions for Spreadshirt. Let's see, another thing we want them to do, and this is documented here, is to add the ability to save your products whenever you design a product in Spreadshirt back to Drive. So right now with Spreadshirt, with the application, you can save your products in your Spreadshirt account. So there is a way to save them, but we think it would be natural to store those edits, those designs, those products you created, say your t-shirt with your company logo, into Drive. When you save a file into Drive, you have basically two options. You can save the actual file, or you can save a shortcut to a file that is saved somewhere else. We don't know anything about the file format that Spreadshirt support, how they're saving their designs in Spreadshirt. And as they already have a way to save those files in their backend, I don't think it really makes sense for them to save some files into Drive and some other files into Spreadshirt. What does make sense is to save what we call a shortcut to a file. So remember, this is a new thing we have in the Google Drive SDK. You can save a pointer, a link to a file that is stored somewhere else. We call it shortcut. So what I think Spreadshirt should do is whenever you want to store a copy of your design, they should allow you to save it into Drive. When you save it into Drive, what you actually save is a shortcut that contains just an ID or something that is unique for Spreadshirt and that allows them to restore that item. So they save a shortcut and they then link the shortcut to their files. For the user experience is exactly the same as if they were storing the file, the real file. But for the developer, this is different because they're not sending us their files. They're only sending us IDs or link to them. Another new thing we just added, we announced it last Thursday right here in GDL, Google Developers Live, is the ability to add thumbnails to files. Let's say Spreadshirt saves the files to Drive, as I just suggested. They're going to save a shortcut. Being the file a shortcut, Google cannot know anything about the file content itself, so Google cannot generate a thumbnail for that file. What a developer can do is provide us with a thumbnail that they generated. So Spreadshirt knows what any given product is and how it looks like. For instance, if it's a t-shirt, they can send us a thumbnail that looks like a t-shirt, so that users can easily spot them when they look for a specific item in their Drive list. This is also documented. We covered it last week, so you can watch the video if you want. But it's also covered by our documentation. So we have a specific section on uploading thumbnails. We support different file formats, so you can upload the thumbnails as PNGs or GIF or JPEGs. We have some restrictions on the file size and so on, and you can read all of them in the documentation. It's very easy. It is just an additional field in your request, and if you're using one of our client libraries, all of them are updated to support it. So we strongly recommend developers with their own custom file format or developers with shortcuts to store a thumbnail for us, so the user experience is better, and users will, are more likely to spot your files in their file list. Just before I try again to run Spreadshirt, otherwise we just wrap it up here, and maybe we cover it again later. Well, maybe when they address all these comments, maybe they're good, maybe they're not. The comments. I said that one of the things that the application does that I would like it to change is that it sets itself as the default application. I showed it in the Manage Apps dialog of Drive. So what I would like it is not to set itself as default, but only to set itself as a secondary application to open those files. So let's say I uncheck this use by default checkbox. What I see here is that if I try to open an image from Drive, it opens in the viewer, which is what most people would do because they probably have photos and they want to see them first. But if I want to open them in Spreadshirt, all I have to do is right-click, select Open With, and select one of the applications that supports this file type, and Spreadshirt is one of them. So same flow, and I still open the application from inside Drive. And the application is now working. It's there were some issues, temporary issues, so I can show you what I was talking about. Well, still not working properly because it should show my image here. So this is the application. Well, assume you have my image here. You can select any item, and then you can, assuming this was one of my designs, you can have it here in the center of the t-shirt, and then you select the size, you select the item, and you're done. So I was saying about the default file type, and that's my last suggestion for today. So you select, when you write an application and you write a listing, you select what file types and extensions you want your application to open as default or as secondary. This is done in the Google APIs console, and this is documented in our Google Drive SDK documentation. So what Spreadshirt, I guess, is doing is setting the image file types as primary types. Instead, I would recommend them to list them as secondary types. To show you how this is done, I have the Google APIs console open. This is where you configure all the marketplace, Google Web Store, Chrome Web Store listing details for your application. For instance, what the application icon is, and you define some of your parameters like credentials and so on. And the thing I'm talking about is the default MIME types and default file extension, and secondary MIME types and secondary file extension. I think they should set them here instead of default ones, and that would probably provide the users with a slightly better experience. Or at least I don't want some users to be annoyed by the fact that their default file viewer is being overwritten by another application. So just another comment. Okay, so to wrap it up, Spreadshirt Designer is new. It's on the Chrome Web Store now. You might probably know it already because you used it to print your t-shirts. If you want now, you can use it with Google Drive, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be better and better with our suggestions and maybe your suggestion. Remember that with the Chrome Web Store, you can and are invited to write reviews. So if you have suggestions, please write that down here in the Chrome Web Store page. And if you have any comments or questions for us, or if you want your application to be featured in one of our Google Developers Live events, please reach out to us. We are always available on Google Plus and on Stack Overflow for technical questions. With that, thank you for joining me at Google Developers Live. Hope you liked it, and see you next time. Bye-bye.